Just a Job is the podcast for the modern woman to redefine what success looks like. We highlight real women and their real stories. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Just a Job with Ellen and Sarah. We've got a fabulous episode for you guys. We've got our weekly stand-up, and then we have an interview with the fabulous Allie Robson. Allie, look, I wore a pretty piece of jewelry that's not real diamonds, but I'm aspiring to be like you. So this is a little nod to Allie. But Sarah, how's it going?
It's good. I'm not wearing is a tennis bracelet only for bracelets? Like, does a tennis necklace?
Yeah, that's the thing. Mm-hmm.
I'm so cool.
Wow. Congrats, you learned something new today.
Thanks, Ellen. It's freaking Friday. Thank God.
We're so happy. Well, you're listening to this and it's Monday, but please take our Friday energy from the screen into all of your days today, because we're in great moods. And
we are in great moods.
Maybe we're in great moods because our husbands are currently going to be spending the weekend together in Vegas, and we get to have some quiet alone time.
Boo, just kidding. We're really sad.
Yeah. I will miss Tim for sure.
I will miss.
Yeah. Alone time is great.
Recharge. Is very great. I'm very excited about it. Ellen, you said that you had a few items to talk through. Let's talk through yours first.
All right, let's kick off. Ooh, I love some corporate terms. Ready? On this agenda of our weekly stand-up, let me kick off my weekly stand-up items.
Please.
Let's see. So, exciting news. I got my contract officially extended until May of next year.
Whoop, whoop.
Very exciting. I wasn't expecting that large of an extension, so I'm very happy about that. I've got a job for a little bit longer, so that's always good news.
To security.
Job security, financial security. Hooray! So that's good. Let's see what else. My project at work is going crazy now. It was very slow, and now it's whoa. I had a nice little chat with Sarah on the phone yesterday where I had a little bit of a panic, but I feel much better today, so that's good.
Just took one night's sleep. You're fine.
Yes, just a little bit of I had a little bit of a validation from another team member being like, yeah, that was intense. And long story short, the validation helped me untangle all the craziness that's going on. So yeah, that's important. I feel like you need to hear that from other people, that you're like, not, I mean, that was you for me a few weeks ago when I was like, what am I doing? What is going on? It's like, you just need somebody to be like, no, the way that you're feeling is totally valid and that you are okay. A little bit of validation goes a long way, way. So next week, more project things, not very exciting. But the other exciting thing is I've officially kind of joined the Cool Kids Club, and I have a work happy hour shortly after this recording. So I'm very nervous. I don't know everyone very well at all. I know one person, and I'm like, I have to be cool. My personality needs to shine. I need to make sure that these people know and understand my personality and then want to be friends with me at the end of this happy hour. So the pressure is on, but I'm excited. So I'll report back next week on how it went. I think you're going to do great. And good for you for doing that. You know, like knowing that you don't know very many people, but still going. What's the worst that could happen? You'll know two people instead of one. Yeah. Right. And there's only 5 people going, including myself. So it's not like this overwhelming large group of people. So yeah, it'll be good. You're about to make friends. This is where it happens. I hope so. So those are my updates, warm fuzzies, good things. So all is well over here. How's it going with you, Sarah? Good. Oh, she's pulling out her phone. Oh, I'm excited now. I think what I need to do, I text myself these things so I don't forget. Okay. The first thing, if you work for a large company and they offer a sabbatical, wouldn't you take it? There was a conversation at work where they were like, oh, people don't take their sabbaticals. And I was like, what? Because I think it's either 5 years or 10-year increments. And you get up to 6 weeks of sabbatical, and people don't take it. Why? It is a paid time off of work.
They were like, there was a woman that hadn't taken her sabbatical and she was there for, and basically if you don't use it, you lose it. There's like a certain window of
Oh,
time that you have to use it. You can't like hold on to it. I don't know. But all that to say, I was like, we harp on using your PTO, use your sabbatical.
amen.
I got locked in a bathroom stall at work.
Oh
Okay. I have to admit it wasn't actually that traumatic. I should have known going into the bathroom. This is one of my strategies of moving my legs. I'm now sitting on my ass all day. I don't have my
Yeah.
standing desk. I don't have my walking pad. So I get up and I go to a different floor to use the bathroom so I can move my legs. And I should have known this was a bathroom. Nobody really goes to it. When I opened up the stall door was like, it was so squeaky. And I was like,
Scary.
oh my God, I have alerted everybody that I'm entering this stall. And when I went to go unlock it, it like wouldn't unlock. And thankfully I just like jiggled it enough. It took probably like 5 seconds, but it felt really long. And in that 5 seconds, I was like, oh my God, I have to crawl under the thing, touch the floor. And then I got out and I had a little chuckle. It was funny. Okay, this is an idea that we've talked about, but I I genuinely think that this needs to be a business idea because I've had a lot
Mm.
of conversations that are on this kind of thread. Adult intern programs.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
How many times do you wish that you could try a different job for a month and like get paid to do it, learn enough where you're like, oh, I could see myself doing that, or like, no, I have no complete interest in it? I feel like you have what, 3 summers in college, and that's even if you capitalize the summer
All of them.
between, yeah, like between freshman and sophomore year, which like most people don't. Most people have one, maybe two internships. And it's like you're supposed to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. The reason I think that this is really important is because when you accept a job, most people have an understanding that, like, at a minimum, you're going to be there for like a year to two, unless it's a contract role where it's,
Hmm.
like up in the air. But how horrible is it to get into a job and it sucks? And then
Yeah,
you're stuck there. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to jump ship, and you go somewhere else. And then what happens if that job sucks? And now you look like a job hopper, but really you're just like, no, it wasn't the right fit. But there's not an opportunity to kind of like risk free try something.
totally. It makes me think of when the boys were going through PT school and they got to do their clinical rotations and try out a bunch of different types of
Yes.
clinics. It's like that. Different
Yes.
companies, different kinds of positions to see like what you
Mm-hmm.
really like and where you actually would prefer to spend your time instead of being dedicated to a place and not being able to leave because you don't like it right away.
Totally. Oh my God. Yes. And like, wouldn't you rather have somebody? I mean, the intern to employee is typically the transition, right?
Hmm.
You do an internship before your senior year, and then the hope is that you get a job with that company if you like it and if they like you. So it benefits both parties because then you have somebody who knows what they're doing to a certain extent
Hmm.
and like knows the company, and you're hopefully avoiding less like burnout and churn on the employee front. I don't know. I just like I wish there was an organization where they did that. It almost makes you think of like The Intern, the
I
movie.
love that movie. Oh my God.
Me too. I too. And I don't remember if that one was like focused on like seniors getting back in the workforce. I think it was. Like
Yeah.
that was the premise. But anyways, I feel like if you created some sort of program or business model where people almost like paid for a subscription, I don't really know how you would make money off of it. But I just think
You
that's
could almost have
missing.
like an agency. Like
Yeah.
you're the, oh my God, I just forgot the word. I know what you mean though.
Yeah.
You have the companies come to you that want to
Yeah.
like partner with this program. And then you have employees that you can farm out and try on different pairs of shoes and
Yes,
see which one you like.
exactly. Yeah, like short, almost just like short-term contracts, but just like less risk.
Yeah.
I mean, a month is a lot to learn, and I understand that some companies there's like proprietary information and process and all of that that they don't want
Yeah.
to share, but just to get a feel for the company and what a job could look like. I just think that that's a missed market. That's
I
all.
like that. That's a cool idea. Look at you and your little entrepreneurial brain
I'm
going.
manifesting it.
Ooh, I
But
love
anyways,
it.
that's all I had on my note.
Oh my gosh, fabulous. Well, thank you so much for your updates. I hope everyone enjoyed this weekly stand up. Any parting thoughts and or takeaways for the listeners?
Enjoy Allie's episode.
Enjoy her episode and go follow Mannelli. Fabulous content, gorgeous jewelry. What's not to love, honestly? Everyone enjoy her episode and we'll see you later. Hi, everybody. We are going to jump into an episode or an interview with our good friend Allie Robson. She is the owner of Mannelli Jewelers, a private luxury jewelry brokerage in Kansas City, another one of our KC girls. She has over 10 years of experience in the fine jewelry industry, and she has agreed to sit down with us and talk to us about her career evolution. So, welcome, Allie, to the podcast. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay! Quick background on how I have met and gotten to know Allie. This is kind of way back, but my husband Tim did his MBA, and when he was going through his schooling, he was like, "Oh, I met this girl, Bridget. You would really like her. You would be really good friends." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And I remember her walking into a party, seeing her, and I think she had like this really cute purse on. She came over, I complimented her purse, she complimented my necklace, and poof, then we were friends.
So
And
easy to
then
be girlfriends.
I
it's
know.
right. It's like, I like your jewelry, I like your purse, poof, now we're friends. And then I was able to go on Bridget's bachelorette party, and Allie was her maid or matron of honor, whichever one, and planned the most fabulous weekend for us. You had a matching PJ set on, I remember, and I'm the queen of matching PJ sets. And I was like, I'm going to be friends with this girl.
Oh my God.
And that's like
That
my
is
first
so
memory
funny.
of you.
Yes, I remember you guys came right in and we were like, let's take
Yes.
shots. Like, I think we're
Yes.
going to be friends.
It worked out perfectly.
It was a
So
great weekend.
it was a great weekend. And then that was around, I think, the time you guys were thinking about starting Mannelli and getting into
Yeah.
putting the company together. And it's been so fun to watch your journey along thus far. So we're excited to hear about how that came to be, ups, downs, and the journey to get there, all of that fun stuff.
But yeah, since then it's been a really fun ride. We just opened up our first office, so that's really exciting.
Congrats. That was amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm sitting in it right now. So that's been really nice because it's just been a really fun space to have. We're by appointment only, but it's nice to have our own cute little Mannelli space now.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's so
Congrats.
fun.
Good for you. And
Thank you.
let's take it back a little bit. When you were little, what did you want to be growing up?
I wanted to be a dentist, which is so out of left field.
Totally.
And my parents, like, they did not prompt me. They did not say like even now with my son, I'm like, oh, I want you to be a lawyer one day. Like, no, my parents did not tell me to be a dentist. I had like a dentist Barbie. I was so into it. And then I think around the age of like 10, I found out that there was blood involved with being a
Big
dentist.
no.
And I am like I'm on the floor. Like, I pass out when I see blood. So we nixed being a dentist. And that was the same year that Sweet Home Alabama came out. And then I was on the Reese Witherspoon fashion designer, making like my own sketches sort of thing. I always loved fashion and that world. I just didn't know in what capacity I wanted to be in it. I knew I didn't want to be at a 9 to 5 sitting at a desk my whole life. And then I got into this industry. My first job was working at this little boutique called Miriam Garvey. And I started there when I was 14, like steaming clothes and tagging things. It was a high-end women's boutique in Kansas City. And I worked there for probably until I was like 24, so for a long, long time. And I had met a woman who owned a really large family-owned independent retail store, fine jewelry in Kansas City. And she also kind of knew my dad, and she offered me an internship. And so I started working there, and I was doing an internship in buying fine jewelry, merchandising, marketing, pretty much the whole back end business for a, fine jewelry store. And I absolutely loved it. And that's kind of where I started my love for fine jewelry. And I was like, okay, this is still in that kind of fashion lane, but it narrowed it down
Right.
to what I actually really enjoyed. Um,
Right.
and I was there for a while, and it was a great experience getting to work with people that have been in the industry for so long. I mean, this store has been open for over 125 years.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, so it was a great experience. And I was getting to go to New York and go on buying trips, going to places like David Yurman and Lagos and all these really cool brands, and getting to meet people and network. And that's kind of how I started in this industry. Um, but it's funny, I just didn't know where like that path in fashion was going to take me. Um, but it led me to a really cool place that I love. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so
that's
that's
so
kind of
special
how,
that you got to have the experience in like such formative years. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
love to work uh at like a local boutique at 14. I feel like there would be
it
so
was
much that you're
so much
learning,
fun.
and like you're probably around a lot of really inspiring women, and you're like
Totally.
helping people shop, or even if like you mentioned just like steaming, it's just fun to do that in
It
that
was
kind of
so
setting. And
fun.
it's like
Mm-hmm.
I remember whenever we would go shopping like as a child, like with friends, and then you come back and you would like play store, like get dressed up in these new
Mhm.
outfits and things. Like how fun
Do
that
a
you got to
fashion
do that, and then
show.
also to
It
like
was
continue
great.
to see it through until your early 20s and have
Mm-hmm.
fun with
Yeah,
it
it
while it
all just
grew.
kind of was like this snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I was searching for jobs in fine jewelry. It just kind of became that. But I loved my first job in retail was a blast. Like, I don't even know if it's legal to hire a 14-year-old to work, but I was like, I had so much fun. And she, the owner, was like a mom, and she was a friend. She was wonderful, and I kind of worked my way up. Um, at her business, and ended up, going from like a sales assistant to a sales associate, and then getting to be like a key holder. And so it was a great foundation for what I do now, which is really customer service based, and working with clients and all of that. Having that first job really brought a lot to my current, professional life and career.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that you said you knew pretty early on that you were not interested in like the typical desk job or working that 9 to 5. Sarah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we've had anyone ever say that before, or maybe I don't remember it,
Mm-mm.
but
Mm-mm.
why was that? Like, did you see it firsthand and you were like, not for me? Or did you always know that like you always were leaning towards the fashion aspect anyways, and that wasn't really what you saw for yourself?
I just always thought that it was crazy to sit at a desk that long, like all day. It's just, and
Plain
I,
and
and I'm,
simple.
yeah, and I think it's great that people can do that. Even I was in New York last week and sitting in this diamond lab for 40 hours all week. I'm staring at little teeny tiny diamonds, and it was crazy. Like I was
Yeah.
exhausted. I mean, I bow down to people who can do a 9 to 5. It just was never something I really wanted. I had always wanted to be my own boss, and I
Mm,
knew a 9 to 5 was probably not going to be a part of that. Um, yeah, it just didn't really interest me, and I like being up and about and talking to people, and I don't like sitting at a computer all day, or it's just never been something that I had aspired to do.
mhm.
Um, being in that corporate world. I've really never been in the corporate world. I've always been in kind of something a little more fluid, and I
Yeah.
really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that.
Mhm.
And
Totally
especially
fair.
now with like having 2 kids, it's so nice to be able
Mhm.
to have that flexibility in my life. I'm not having to, I can watch them some days. Like I
Right.
watch them on Mondays instead of sending them to daycare, which is great. And then it's just a really nice life balance for what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Definitely. So you knew pretty early on that Not a 9 to 5, not dentistry.
Hmm.
You're leaning into retail. Talk us through like college, post grad, and what those first few years in like full time workforce looked like for
Yeah.
you.
So I went to KU, and that was just a social decision. There was no thought to it at all. Um, it's one thing that I wish I could go back and change. I love KU. It was a great school, but I had no one telling me, what do you actually want to do there?
Mm.
Or what do you want to study? So I got there and I was a little like, I don't know, business, I guess, like, which is a
Mm-hmm.
great path, but I just had no idea. Um, my junior year, or right before my junior year, I called it my early quarter life crisis.
Mm.
And I was like, what am I doing here? I love these people. I love this place, but like I am not fulfilled. So
Mm.
I applied to art school in Chicago. I applied to New York too. And I ended up choosing Chicago because it seemed like a little less daunting.
Sure.
So I moved. I left KU and moved to Chicago for a year. Got up there and then I hated it.
Oh no.
Mm.
And my dad wanted to kill me. He was like, you were supposed to be here for like a while. Like the plan was to go to art school, finish, and then stay in Chicago. And I loved Chicago. It just was not I wasn't in the right mindset. I didn't love the school as much as I thought I would. I don't know. Again, like early quarter life crisis. I was not
Yeah.
quite sure what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of my time in Chicago is when I got offered the internship at the independent fine jewelry store in Kansas City. So it just made perfect sense. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
let's go back. I'm going to finish at KU because I was so close to being done at that point. And then I'm also going to do this internship with them. And I still was working at the women's boutique here and there. Like I was always working there on breaks and stuff. So I kind of had it set up pretty well when I got back to Kansas City. Um, Finished at KU, and college for me was kind of just a checklist sort of thing. Unfortunately, looking back, I should have gone to K-State. I should have, studied fashion merchandising and marketing there. There's so many other
Mm-hmm.
routes I could have taken. I love KU. It's a great school. I'll always love it. But I just wasn't. I was a little confused in my college days. And when I finally came back to Kansas City and started working for this, doing this internship for this company, it all started to click a little
Yeah.
more.
Mm-hmm.
And I graduated and I was like, okay, college is done. We're moving on. Like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
we need to put that in the past. So I had
Yeah.
a very weird college experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's no,
I
I feel like there's like no typical experience. And I
Yeah.
think it's so great that you had the opportunity to like test something out, right? Like
Hmm.
you gave Chicago an opportunity, you gave it a chance, and it's like, okay, maybe it didn't work for me. That's fine. But you got out, you got to kind of get that little moment in your life,
Yes.
and then you
And it was
came
kind of this
back.
like itch I had to just scratch
Totally. Yeah.
and
Mm.
get it over with. And it was a really good life lesson. Um, and now that I have children, I feel like I can navigate that with them more. Be like, hey, maybe you should study abroad for a semester, not
Yeah.
move to Chicago. But it was just something that I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even before I went to KU, I always had thought maybe I should try to go to college in a big city. But I was just scared. And everyone was going to KU and it just it was easy. It was the easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting like where it led me though. And obviously it
Absolutely.
all happened for a reason.
Yeah. I love that you said the quarter life crisis because I feel like I have those maybe too regularly, but it's that like you sit with yourself for a second and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? And where do I want to go next? And I
Hmm.
think that's so relatable, especially in college. You're just like putting one foot in front of the other and trying to really figure out like where you want your life to go. What a great learning opportunity for you to be able to be like, I tried something, it didn't work out, but I'm not going to let that deter you from making like taking another opportunity like the internship back in Kansas City. So while
Hmm.
it was, kind of a crazy, maybe like a more difficult time, you were able to come out of it and be like, I'm so grateful I went through something like that in order to get to where you are now. Allie, why
Good.
don't you tell us about the internship and like couple learning lessons from there and the good, like maybe an example of something that went really well, or maybe that was like a learning opportunity for you during that time.
Yeah, it was a great internship. It was a lot because I was working like 25 hours doing that, and then I was also finishing up at KU. So even just like time management, like at
Mm-hmm.
a very basic thing to learn in adulthood, I learned doing that internship, trying to manage my time and whatnot. But really, it it was just the foundation of my knowledge into fine jewelry and how it all works. Like seeing there are so many moving parts to how this store operated and different teams, and I was kind of in the middle of a lot of it, um, of their inventory department, how they manage that, which is something you don't really think about, and then
Mm-hmm.
their marketing and merchandising the store. That was a really fun thing for me, was getting to learn how to merchandise, which is a whole thing in retail, especially in fine jewelry, is making things visually appealing.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed doing that. And then another portion of it um, was the buying aspect. Was these lines would come in, and you would have to pick what's going to sell for your customer and in what quantities, and looking at sell through and all that kind of stuff. It was just such a great foundation for me to learn and grow. And once I did graduate, I went on full time with them. So my internship was, I feel like, about 6 months ish, and then I ended up being um, in their merchandising and marketing department full time, which was great, and just such an easy transition. And I was really lucky to be given that opportunity. Um, Again, I would never have gotten in this industry without that internship. I would have never really even thought about it. When you think of fine luxury jewelry and diamonds, it seems like kind of an intimidating industry to
Mm.
get into. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I had really great people mentoring me and teaching me, and um, along the way, which was invaluable for Mannelli in what we do now.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't know much about the jewelry industry, but I imagine too, like learning, it's so relationship based.
Totally.
You're like networking and you're putting yourself out there, and for it to work out and that you got a full-time job with it and then you were in the marketing department, what were some of the learning lessons that you had, like making that transition from intern status, if you will, to like full-time employee? Were there
Um,
very many
well,
changes?
yeah, especially when you're working in fine jewelry, you're dealing with like very high dollar
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
items. And I just learned, and you have to have a lot of discretion when it comes to customers and things like that. So there was a lot of learning lessons when it just came to navigating how to be in an industry that you're dealing with these very, very high price points. Um, and also just on the marketing side of it, learning how to do all of the like media buying. That was something I had no idea how to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a really big learning lesson. I don't use that as much now, but it was really cool to learn that and see how like these people who have been in the industry work together. Even like that was a big learning lesson for me. It was really, I mean, the whole working there that whole entire time, there wasn't a day that I didn't learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was great. I absolutely loved working there. And yeah, I don't know if I fully answered that question, but
You did. You did.
I think so. Yeah. Is the like fine luxury jewelry space, is it primarily women or men? Like what's the gender demographic, would you say?
it's I would say it's primarily women. It's obviously a lot of men shopping for women, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a lot of men. Um, Men need wedding bands. Men want cool chains. Men
Mm-hmm.
want diamond studs. And I feel like in recent years, it's gotten even more, like even more men are buying fine jewelry. You see men wearing like
Interesting.
cool pearl necklaces now and really
Uh-huh.
cool stuff. Um, and then also watches too. I don't
Mm.
necessarily deal in watches at Mannelli, but that's also a part of the fine luxury jewelry, um, you know, industry. I did work in watches for a little bit. After my time at the independent retailer, I went and worked for a luxury watch startup, which was a crazy,
Cool.
Wait,
yeah,
tell us
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
it
Interesting.
was, it was, it was a little wild. Um, it was a really cool company. They're no longer around, but it was like high end timepieces. It was
Mhm.
A Kansas City based company, and I was brought on as their general manager, and I was like 24.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Cool.
it was wild, but it was so much fun. I got to meet really cool people, some like bigger celebrities in Kansas City. Got
Mhm.
to work with them. I got to see, how a business starts. And I, with Mannelli, I've taken a lot of what I learned from that watch company and either like the good, the bad, the ugly. And always I think about that. I'm like, okay, they did it this way. Maybe I need to do things a different way. Um,
Mhm.
the watch company was a very short lived. I was there for maybe like 9 months and realized this is not for me. But it was a learning experience to
Yeah.
say the least.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That makes me think when I think of jewelry, like in most cases, like very well-known jewelry companies have been around for like 100 years or so. It's very
Yeah.
like generational, it's very family oriented.
Hmm.
I've never even thought about like a startup in the jewelry industry. But my
Yeah.
question on that, like, did you since you came in at such a young age, like, did you feel like the industry itself was maybe like, I don't want to say outdated, but was like looking for a change, like a fresh, I don't know, perspective or something? Because I feel like
Mm.
maybe it's just because I grew up in like a small town, but like all of the jewelers are like really old men.
No, it's
You're
totally
you're
true.
like coming in and you're like, it's like 24, or 22, 24-year old young woman that's like super eager to change things. Like, did you feel that shift?
Totally. And it was right around that time that people like ring concierge or clear
Mm,
cut were coming in and kind of disrupting the industry, which is very old
definitely.
school. It's a very old school industry. And once you're in it, people don't leave,
Mm,
which is a reason I left the fine jewelry store that I was working at for so long because everyone that worked there loved it so much. So there was no really upward trajectory for me
sure.
because everyone in management was not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a great place to work. So I saw right around there in that watch company, I saw a lot of change happening in the industry. And then once I left there is when my wheels started turning about starting a private jewelry company of my own because I knew a lot of people that do what I do are older. Not that there's anything wrong with that,
Mm-hmm.
but they do things a certain way. They're not texting you back at 10 o'clock at night. Um, they're not as modernized when it comes to like social media and just
Sure.
simple things like that. So I saw kind of a window and an opportunity, especially in Kansas City. And now you're seeing a lot of younger jewelers, a lot of people coming in, starting new companies and startups and whatnot, whether they work or not. I think it's really great for the industry. Obviously, it needs to evolve, or
Mm-hmm.
there wouldn't be anyone left. It would be just when these older jewelers aren't there one day. Um, and I've met a lot of people who, they're in different cities that their parents own a private jewelry store and they're taking it over, but they're really switching it up and they're shutting down their retail space and they're doing all online and by appointment and things like that. So you're seeing a shift even when it comes, I think, to the retail and how people shop. I think everyone's shopping in different ways. We have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of remote clients, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like my engagement, I'd say over half my engagement clients are, I do it all via Zoom or FaceTime,
Wow.
and they're not local, which is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People are just shopping in different ways.
Mm.
They're
Yeah.
not just, going to a brick and mortar store anymore. and they want convenience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, again, why I started Mannelli was I wanted it to be a less intimidating, easier, more relaxed, but still luxurious experience for people. And it can be as involved or as not involved as they want it to be. It can be all done via text. I've sold engagement rings that are literally all text. I've never even talked to the person on the phone.
That is
Oh my gosh,
wild.
that's crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And then I have people that I do, we have 10 different meetings
Right.
and they're all 2 hours long. So it's whatever I want it to be, whatever experience people want.
And cool that you were able to like identify that niche in the marketplace from the like maybe older, more generational style to like making it custom to each person. Like I've never bought myself an engagement ring, but if I was going to, I would love to go that more like personal custom route. I mean, it's such an emotional, I mean, not only the financial aspect, but I mean, it's something that you will have ideally your entire life, and making a decision like that, I'm sure, is probably really emotional too. Like how do you guide through those kinds of conversations with people, or like, I don't know, talk a really nervous fiance man off the ledge of being nervous about making a ring purchase? Like, what is that like for you?
I think the second that people sit down with me, they relax a little bit more. Again, we're not an intimidating, retail store where there's bright lights and lots of people sitting around you, and it's not half as nerve-wracking. So the guys come in, and usually if they're really nervous, I'll be like, "Would you like a beer? Do you need a little cocktail?" And that
Yeah.
always helps if they would like that. But once they get talking with us, they realize, okay, this is really not as scary as I thought it was going to be. The scary part for them should be the proposal. I'm always like, focus on that. Like, I have your back. We're going to make this ring amazing. You don't need to worry about the ring. Worry about, you know, the proposal and saying, will you marry me? That should be the part that you're more nervous about. Don't be nervous around me.
Yeah.
And most guys at that point, like, calm
Calm
down a
down.
little
Sure.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. And that's
It
that's
is.
I'm sure really rewarding for you to be able to have some little part of the experience for them. I am curious. I've gotten it kind of like piecemealed, but I'm curious about the transition between, hey, I want to start a business to like, okay, we're launched. What was that experience like? And like the
Yeah.
amount of work, and then post launch, like those first 6 months, like what did all of that look like for you?
So Bridget is my cousin, and she's the co-owner in the business. I run all the like day to day, the sales and whatnot. She does more of like back end things. But Bridget and I, for years, have always wanted to run a business together. We had no idea what it was. Like, we would have brainstorming sessions over wine and come up with some wild ideas. Like, we just didn't know where we wanted to go with it. And when we were like little girls, we started this little company called Cousins Beads, and we made lanyards for nurses because my mom and her mom were nurses, and like the little eyeglass chains to like,
Mm-hmm.
put their little badges on and stuff. So
Cute.
I don't
That's
know
so
what
sweet.
got me thinking about it, but I was like, we should reinvent Cousins Beads, but make it, you know, luxury jewelry, because that's what I wanted to do. I had always wanted to start this. I was very nervous to do so. I had friends telling me left and right I needed to start this private jewelry company, whatever it was. And I just like could not take the leap. And it wasn't until I brought it to Bridget and she was like, yeah, why not? Like, let's give it a shot. Like, we can do this. Um, and what was really pivotal is one of my diamond vendors is a very good friend of mine. I've been friends with him for years and met him through networking just in the industry. And I went to him and I was like, what do you think? And he was like, do it. I have your back. Like, I will support you guys through this. And I don't think we could have started Mannelli without him. He's really been wonderful to us. But so yeah, we had this idea and we needed a name. That was our biggest hurdle. So I was sitting at Ragazza, which is this great Italian restaurant in Kansas City.
Mhm.
And there was a big map of Italy. and our family is from Italy. And I was like, I wonder what the town is called that our great grandmother was from. So I texted my Nana and I was like, what's the name? And she said, Soveria Mannelli. And I was like, oh my God, Mannelli. So I think that'd be really cool. And I texted Bridget and she was like, done. That's the name. So
Mhm.
that was a weirdly big hurdle for us. We could not think of a name. That took weeks. And then we like filed our LLC and all that stuff. And it took a good 6 months to get through all of that, just like business end stuff that you don't think
Mhm.
about building a company. We were selling during those 6 months. I call that like our soft launch.
Mhm.
But we really weren't like, we didn't even have an Instagram at that point. We were
Mhm.
just building all of that and trying to navigate how it was going to look like. And then we did a hard launch and had like a fun party. And ever since then, it's just kind of grown. And I did it out of my house for a really long time. I saw clients there. I will go to clients if they want me to. And then now with the office, it's wonderful to just have a space that is kind of our own and we can come to. But it was a good year, I feel like, until, we really were like settled into Mannelli and, you know, figured out how to do things, and there was just a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word, a lot of logistics we had to figure out. Um,
Mhm.
and we still do, we're figuring logistics out with the office and things like that. But it was a good year.
Man,
Mhm.
that's so exciting. First off, congratulations. I feel like every business owner just needs
Yes.
like the biggest pat on the back and like the biggest hug because it's such a
Oh, thank you.
vulnerable place to be in. And you're like, I have years of experience in this, but like nobody taught you how to create an
No.
LLC or like file all this paperwork and stuff. So it's like such a
Yeah.
every day you're just constantly learning something. And I can't even imagine like how it felt to have the name. And it just feels like with each step, you're just like growing it. It's becoming more
Yeah.
and more real because then after you have the name, you get to tell people the name. And then it just like feels so, I don't know, like legitimate and
It was
just
so
like so,
real.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
real.
It was
Um,
really cool when we finally had that name and like a logo and all that stuff.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And we don't have any investors. We don't have anyone, telling us, oh, this is what you need to do next. We're just
sure.
relying on people we know helping us. So there's just
Mhm.
been a lot of learning, but it's
Mhm.
cool to see how far we've come
Definitely.
since,
Oh.
that like first talk about starting this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Looking back on the year plus that you guys have been in business now, is there like a specific milestone that sticks out to you of like a made it moment or like something you're really, really proud of?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was probably our first engagement ring. That was huge. And it was a really good size one too. It was like a 3 carat, beautiful, radiant.
Whoa.
And it was a very, very cool moment. And
Mhm.
it was a good friend, and that made it even more the better that I got to be a
Right.
part of that. Sarah, kind of like you said earlier, like every engagement ring we sell, it's so cool to get
Mm-hmm.
to be a part of people's story. Getting
Mhm.
engaged is obviously one of the biggest moments in your life, and Mannelli being part of that is just really, really special. So that first engagement ring was huge for us. It was huge.
Mhm.
I still get really excited thinking about it. It was a beautiful, beautiful ring too, just to like add to
Mm-hmm.
everything. And it was a very, very proud moment for us.
I'm like, oh, God, if only Ellen this existed like when did we get engaged? 4 years ago?
I know,
Something like
right?
that. 4 or 5 years ago. I know,
I
I know.
know.
Ellen and I would
Hey,
spend like hours looking at engagement rings, but I
maybe
guess
you
that's
can
true.
get an upgrade one day and then you'll be
That's true.
Ooh.
That's true.
10-year anniversary.
My
Yes.
3-year anniversary is this summer. Maybe that sounds like
Well,
a
I think
good
that
time for
warrants
an
some
upgrade.
sort of gift, don't you?
Something shiny. Yeah.
Something shiny.
Absolutely. I am super curious. Like if somebody was coming to you for advice, like what's the one piece of advice that you'd have? I'm sure there's plenty, but what's the one that you're like, you have to think of this?
Oh gosh. I think you need to have some sort of like mentor within
Mhm.
whatever
Mm-hmm.
business you're starting. And for me, that was our diamond vendor. Um, I feel like if you don't have that, you're going to be like a fish out of water. Even if you know the industry, I knew the industry really well, but not having, I needed someone that I could constantly like rely on to ask questions and help me navigate things. I mean, he still does to this day. So I think that's like my biggest piece of advice.
Mm-hmm.
Would be just like reaching out to people you know and really relying on them because people are very willing to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's sometimes intimidating, especially when you're starting a new business. You don't want, you're like nervous to step on people's toes, or you're nervous that people are busy, but people want to help you. People
Mm-hmm.
want you to succeed, especially like older generations. They want you to do well, and
Mm-hmm.
you know paved the way for like new people and young people to come in.
Mhm.
Definitely.
The transition from working for someone else and working for a company to now owning your own business and running the show yourself, what is like the best thing about that? Or what's one thing that you're really proud of yourself for doing?
I think the whole thing is amazing. Like I can't think of anything better than working for myself. It is the best part is I can also have time for my family and do what I
Mm-hmm.
love, and I can do it on my own time. So if I'm working, from 7 until 10 o'clock at night doing, some more back end stuff or social, I can. So
Mm-hmm.
I do love that, just like flexibility in my day. And um, it's also the worst part though too, because you're really having to make sure you're getting things done because it's very easy to put things off um, when no one is, checking in with you
Mm-hmm.
and, seeing if you're getting it done. So it's the best and the worst part. Um, but I love running my own business. I feel like it's very empowering. It's been a really just great experience overall and a dream. I mean, it's been a dream come true.
You talked about your family, and I love how you talk about your two boys. I think it's so sweet. What has that experience been like having a newer family while also owning your own business at the same time? Like,
Yeah, it's a lot of balance. Like
mm,
my firstborn when we started Mannelli was, I don't know, roughly like a year old.
mhm,
And you know, it's just making sure that you also have time for them. And it's but it's also the best. Like he loves coming to the office. He like thinks that this is
Oh.
his second home. He runs around here and gets really excited, and he likes the elevator and all the things here. Um, but it's great because I hope one day I can leave them this business, or you know leave them some legacy of this. And I think it's just very cool that one day when they're more aware, that they'll see, oh, their mom wanted to do something and now she's doing it and she
mhm,
just went for it, and like I could do that if I want to.
mhm.
It's pretty cool to think about down the road.
I was just gonna say, like, I commend you for that because I think I can't even imagine with a 1 year old what that experience was like of like taking a chance on a business while also juggling a growing child and a family. And I think it's important too. I am curious, like, how having a business partner has impacted your experience with growing the business and just what you've learned because you have a relationship, obviously, with your cousin, and
Hmm.
like now it extends outside of that relationship. What has it been like with working with Bridget?
It's been great. I mean, I she has been so helpful. Bridget also has a new little baby. But at the time when we started our business, she didn't, and she was always like at the drop of a hat. If I needed to meet with a client, she's like, "Okay, let me come over and watch WIT, so you could go meet with somebody." Or she took a lot off my plate in order for me to be able to um, propel Manelli forward. So
Mhm.
we couldn't do it without each other, truly. And when we started it, we said to each other, we were like, okay, we're cousins, we're very good friends, and we need to also separate that from being business partners.
Mhm.
And we've done a very good job of that. Because obviously, when you own a business, things come up and there are disagreements and whatnot, but we've navigated that really well, which
Mhm.
I'm very proud of us for it. We were a little nervous because
Sure.
you don't know how it's going to
Mm-hmm.
go. We didn't want it to ruin our friendship as cousins, being business partners, but it's really just kind of meshed together, and we have a lot of fun doing it too. We get to
Mm-hmm.
go do things like go to market, like at the trade shows in Vegas. We did that. We were both like 5 months pregnant, and I would have hated going to that to Vegas when I was five
Mm-hmm.
months pregnant alone, but I got to have Bridget there, and it's cool getting to do this together, especially just because we started this silly little cousins beads business, a long, long time ago. And now we're doing kind of the same thing. I mean, not really, but,
It's come full
still
circle.
comes full
Yeah.
circle. Yeah.
Hmm. I
That's
think
so sweet.
one, if I could use like a word to describe your journey, it just seems like so organic. Like you knew what you wanted to do. You had your friends and family there to support you. What if things didn't work out? It was all for a reason. And then here you are owning this fabulous business, which I need to win one of the giveaways. Oh my gosh, that's like
Yes.
my life goal is to win one.
I love a giveaway. They have been crazy. I'm not a social media guru by any means. I did social at the internship and my first job, and then I was kind of out of the social media game for a while. So
Mhm.
having to learn all that has been
Mhm.
really interesting. There's
Mhm.
so much out there, but the giveaways have been really fun. We'll need to do
Yeah.
another giveaway, and you'll need to
Mhm.
enter like 500 times.
Yeah, on all of the accounts, on both Just a
A
Job and my
dream. A
personal.
dream.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we head into the big question now. Allie,
Yeah.
how
Oh
do
gosh.
you I know, sorry, I didn't mean to make it feel like a really big
I
question.
know. I'm like,
How
Oh
do you
boy.
define success for
I
yourself?
think I think success for me is just doing what I love and doing it well. Um, and I feel like anyone who owns their own business would probably say that. Um, it's like I said, it's a dream to be able to do what I do and actually love it every day. And that's really all I wanted my whole life was to have a job that I truly loved. So whether it
Mhm.
was Mannelli or if I was, working at a different company but still in this industry, as long as I loved it, to me, that's being successful.
Mhm. Ooh, I love that. I just love everyone's answers to these questions. And I feel like anytime we get a new answer, it's like I always leave more, I don't know, inspired and just like
Mhm.
excited,
Mhm.
And so, Allie, thank you for sharing the evolution of getting to where you are
Yes,
now, and really congrats on all the success that you've had.
Definitely.
It's very
thank
impressive.
you so
So
much.
congrats. We're going to jump into some rapid fire
Oh
questions, and I'm
no.
going to throw you a curveball, not really, but a deviation from our normal questions. I want to know
Okay.
what your favorite stone cut is.
Oh, that's hard. I'd have to say an oval. Love an oval. But
Ooh,
my runner up, which is very controversial, is a heart. I
that is
love
controversial.
Ooh.
I love a
Wow.
heart cut diamond. I think they're so cool and different and fun. A lot of people think I'm crazy when I say that. But I think they're really cool. It's hard to pick your favorite, but I feel like an oval is like such a cool classic look. Like it's
Hmm.
still modern but traditional at the same time. I love an oval. Love an oval.
Mm.
And then a heart. One day I'd love like a really pretty like heart pendant.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I don't
Yeah.
think
I think
I was not expecting the heart, that's for sure.
Mm-mm.
I love the heart.
Yeah.
I've seen a light pink heart diamond, and light pink diamonds are very, very expensive. Color diamonds in general are, but it was beautiful. It was like 2 carats and like $1.5 million. Like, it was nuts.
Oh
Wild.
my God.
Yeah, it was wild. I fell in
How
love with
fun.
heart diamonds after that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I see
Yeah,
some
how
really
could you
cool
not?
I see really cool things. I mean, I don't mean to brag, but
No,
I get to
I
see
can only
really, really
imagine.
beautiful, beautiful stones and jewelry all the time.
Oh,
Oh
so
my
cool.
gosh. That makes my
Okay, that
job
was
look
my one
so boo-boo.
curveball, I promise. I know.
I love that curveball.
All right, I'll hit you with a classic.
Okay.
What is one thing that you have to have in the workday to be able to make it to the very end
Oh
of the workday?
gosh. I think it would have to be like a Diet Coke. I love a Diet Coke. Is that like a normal answer?
That's
I
Are
a
love
people
great
that.
saying
answer.
are people saying
No,
like
people say
deeper things that it's
coffee.
No.
Yeah, no, a Diet Coke.
I'm not a coffee girl. I wish I was. I've tried so hard to be a coffee girl and I just can't. It like gives me heart palpitations. I love a Diet
Yeah.
Coke. That gets me through the day every time. Maybe a little Chick-fil-A at lunch.
Mm,
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'm
hmm
Okay, I'm
happy.
getting hungry.
I'm very
It is.
basic when it comes to that.
I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like I know the answer to this question. Like, duh. But what's the best benefit you've ever had from working in this industry?
Yeah, that's pretty easy. It's,
Mm,
it's getting, to have access to all this beautiful jewelry all the time. Um, and even when I worked at Miriam Garvey, the clothing store, getting jeans at a discount when I was,
Mm-hmm.
18, I had a million pairs of sevens. Like I
Oh
had,
yeah.
yeah, I loved them. And True Religion, like I had great
Oh,
True
yeah.
Religion jeans. And at the time when you're, 16 and you're wearing nice jeans like
That's
that,
so
it's like,
cool.
I felt very cool. But that has been the biggest perk. Like when I worked at the independent retail store, I worked a lot in David Yurman, and they would do like incentives. So if you sold a certain amount or your team sold a certain amount, you would get a certain amount to spend with them.
Mm,
And that was like
amazing.
peak David Yurman times where that's what
Mhm.
everyone wanted to wear. And so
Oh, yeah.
I've got really good Yurman. I have good jewelry in general, which is
Of
just
course.
it it's a very big perk. Very big perk of
Yes.
the job.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, last question. How do you like to unwind after the end of the day?
I love a glass of wine and a good show. Like give me anything on
Ooh.
Bravo. It could be like a mindless show, like a Real Housewives, anything Southern Charm, and a
Yeah.
glass of wine, and I am happy, especially after putting two kids to bed at the same time. You're like, I need that glass of wine, and
Mm-hmm.
that is my happy place. And even better if it's like nice outside and the windows are open, like that's
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
ideal night for me.
Mm.
That sounds fabulous. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. Okay, I'm
I know
like
now I'm gonna
taking a
need a
mental
glass of
note.
wine and
Right?
a glass of wine and a good show tonight.
Exactly. I was going to say, I see that in my future this week for sure.
Yeah,
Well, Allie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with
Yes,
us.
thank you.
It was
of
so
course.
great
Thanks for
hearing
having
from
me.
you. Absolutely. We'll be sure to include all the places you can find Allie and Mannelli in the show notes. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to check us out as well on social, all the places you can find us. Thank you again, Allie, for being here with us. We hope everyone has a
Thank
fabulous
you.
Monday. And remember, it's literally just a job. Bye.